Hey guys, Facial Licorice from Faces Turf here, and today I want to show you guys the Mega Charizard X, a $450 gaming computer. So first off, you're probably wondering about the name. I had spent a while trying to come up with a name for this computer when I saw an article about Pokemon Mega Evolutions, and I remember that Mega Charizard X has this exact color scheme. So I went with that. From now on, the design, color, and the name of all the computers I'm going to build are going to be named after Pokemon. Now enough of that. Let's actually get into this computer here. It's a $450 entry-level gaming computer running on an Intel Core i3-4150. This is a dual-core processor with hyper-threading, so it essentially has 4 cores, but that won't help us much while gaming. It's clocked to a very good 3.5 GHz out of the box, and I've paired it up with 8 GB of Corsair Vengeance 1600 MHz gaming memory. This is a gaming computer, so we have to have a graphics card in here. I went with the Radeon R7 250X, formerly known as the HD 7770D by AMD. I went with this card because it is pretty good performer for only $110. All of this is on an MSI board, the H97M E35 to be exact. This board has more than enough functionality for what we need. It even has overclocking capabilities, although we won't be doing much of that here. The I/O on this board is plentiful. It has 2 PS2 ports, 2 USB 3 ports, an HDMI port, 2 more USB 3 ports, a VGA and DVI port, gigabit LAN, 2 USB 2 ports, and a microphone jack, headphone jack, and a line in. Moving on to the case, we have the Xon 560BK by Xeon. I've done an overview of this case, so you can check that out by clicking on the annotation you see on the screen or by clicking the link in the video description. Now last but not least, the thing that powers all of these parts. I highly advise you not to skimp out on the PSU here. You may not think it's very important, but trust me, it is. Choosing a high quality power supply comes with a ton of advantages, such as lower power bill every month, and having that extra power for expandability, stuff like that. But mainly because bad power supplies can catch on fire if the wiring is not done properly or they use bad capacitors. I'm not saying all cheap power supplies are like this, but don't buy a power supply unless it's by a reputed manufacturer. Anyway, I chose the EVGA 500 watt mainly because it's 80 plus certified and it has all the connectors that I need. Now finally, the part that you've all been waiting for. How does it stack up? Well, first, I'll give you the benchmark scores and then the games. In Cinebench, this computer got a score of 311 on the CPU test. I know that doesn't sound like much, but considering that this is only a $450 computer, that's pretty impressive. It also came in with 69 frames per second on the OpenGL test, and now moving on to 3D Mark, it scored a 3,136 in the graphics test, 5,150 in the physics test, and 1,146 in the combined test of Firestrike, placing it around the 25th percentile of all Firestrike scores ever. Now that's not very impressive, but then again Firestrike is a very demanding benchmark that's just not meant for this kind of computer. So I also ran Skydiver, another benchmark by 3D Mark, for gaming laptops and mid-range PCs. It got a graphics score of 10,450, a physics score of 5,160, and a combined score of 11,497. Pretty impressive if I do say so myself. Surprisingly enough, it only beats 29% of all scores in Skydive history, but there is a reason for this. It's because high-end gaming rigs and workstations have also run this benchmark and saved their scores, which means that our computer is stacked up against these super expensive gaming rigs. Enough of the synthetic benchmarks. Let's test out this computer on some real games. I only had the opportunity to test this computer out on 2 games. People might be wondering why I chose these 2 games, because they're not even that popular. But they're not that demanding either, which is my primary reason. This computer isn't going to handle the latest games at high settings, so why even bother testing it out? I ran both Hawken and Darksiders 2, some not so demanding games that I like quite a bit. I ran Hawken at 720p with ultra settings and got an average frame rate of 79 with a maximum of 118 and a minimum of 0. I also ran Hawken at 1080p with high settings and got a slightly lower 64.5 FPS with a maximum of 81 and once again a minimum of 0. I don't know why the minimum is 0, because it was playable for me throughout the entire time I was playing it, and I didn't witness any drop frames. It must be something wrong with Hawken itself, because I didn't encounter that problem with Darksiders. Now moving on to Darksiders, I ran that at 1080p with high settings and got an average of 54.9 frames per second and a maximum of 65 with a minimum of 37. Very, very playable. So I guess that's all there is to say about this computer. Are you planning on building a computer? Are you going to build this same one? Or are you going to make some changes? Or are you going to go all out and build your own custom PC? Let me know in the comments below. Like or dislike this video if you feel that way. Or you can comment expressing your feelings more deeply. And most importantly, people, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any cool tech-related videos that are going to be coming up. This is Faces of the Chris signing out of Faces Turf. Peace.